Greetings. Good morning. It's dues paying time as Sundance Active Adult. I'm having a little trouble with the accounting and getting invoices. I've got bills, invoices that come in, and I'm missing 2 invoices for last year. I'm missing the invoice that comes in March. I'm missing the invoice that comes in June. I got the invoice for September, and I got the invoice for December. But I got no invoice. Last week, we all got this. See that? That's that card that says if you have any problems with your bill, and it also is an announcement to all the members that there was an increase in dues of about $13, a little over $13 increase every 3 months. But I'm not being accredited. I have a little bit of an accounting background, but we've got a running score going here. In October of last year, without warning, they started charging my account $100 a day. Okay? When they did that, my December bill that I got near Christmas last year went from $285 to over $4,500 without warning. Okay? I didn't know it was coming. When I had the $285 dues payment in September of last year and there was nothing on the card or nothing to indicate problems, I figured I'm out of the woods. I don't have anything against me. I've got a straight dues payment. Well, 3 months later, about 2 or 3 days before Christmas, I finally get the bill, and it's for over $4,500 with no warning. Okay, so I am going to attempt to call this number. It's a 623 number, and if it's a local number and I get the HOA out here in Sundance, the last time I attempted to get any information as a member, a dues paying member, I was hung up on. I was told that we're not going to talk to you anymore. You have to talk to the lawyer. So I'm going to dial this number right now and see if I can find out why. Oh, and another thing, I have the canceled checks that I printed off my bank account for the last year, 4 of them. I also have 4 receipts where I sent the payment in, certified mail, return receipt. You have to understand out here in YouTube land that once you get a fine against your property or a judgment, adjudicated judgment by some weaponized clowns over here in the HOA, they're weaponized to pay you to... Anyway, let me make the call. So the number is payment account questions. Here we go. I'm going to put this on speakerphone so we can all hear it. Yes, I have a postcard that I got last week, and it says on it, payment or account balance questions, and I called this number. So can I go over my account and get some answers on, think my billing is a little off.
Can I get your phone, your name?
Sure. My name is Seward LaShawn.
Stewart?
Seward. S-E-W-A-R-D. Like the guy that bought Alaska. And I'm recording
No,
this.
I'm sorry, can you spell your last name?
LaShawn. L-A-S-H-O-M-B.
Okay, hold on a minute. This is Caroline.
Caroline, Merry Christmas. I hope you have a good holiday.
Thank you. What can I do for you?
I'm recording this call. Every call that I've made to you, I've recorded. So I got you hanging up on me a couple times, so please don't hang up on me. I have a legitimate gripe about my account.
Okay.
All right. First of all, when you hung up on me a couple of months ago, I called to inquire after I had talked to AAM customer service twice that I wasn't getting my invoice. I didn't get my invoice in March. I didn't get my invoice in June. As soon as I got that bill that started the fine in October last year, I got that bill around the 23rd of December. They went out late, okay? I was sucker punch. I couldn't believe it happened. It went from a $285 bill in September to over $40-some hundred. And I understand that if I miss a payment, you can start foreclosure. So I'm very aware, I'm very anal about getting bills paid. So for the last 4 periods, I send the bill in, certified receipt, return mail, cost me $18 every time I send the thing in. I make a video, I'm making a video now, this will go on YouTube, but I've got 4 canceled checks from my bank, I've got 4 return receipts where I paid to have the thing delivered. Okay, I got all that paperwork, and I get bills where on the bill, I haven't seen, at least on the bill that came in September, and this bill, you're not giving me credit. You're not giving me credit for these payments I'm making. The first 2 payments I made, I had to make without a stub. I never got an invoice. And that was the first thing I said to the lady that day. And I was referred to by customer service and AAM. I will send you the video. One's about an hour long of a long discussion between me and Anthony. Okay? And the last one where you hung up on me, I have that video. It's on YouTube right now. But when you hung up on me, I called Anthony back, and Anthony, who was all talkative, very talkative up to that point, more or less told me flat out, we're not going to deal with you anymore. Caroline has ordered us not to deal with you, not to answer your questions, not to have anything to do with you. So I was shocked.
Can I speak?
Yeah, sure can. Go ahead. I'd love to hear your story.
3 years ago, you made it very clear to us in writing that you wanted absolutely no contact with the HOA. I have advised you at that time there was certain information that we were bound by responsibility to send you, and you told me I will not open it, I will return it. I have multiple letters that were sent to your address regardless, and you returned them undeliverable. I have them in your file. Mr. Lasham, you said you didn't want to talk to us. At that time, we told you that you could contact us if you needed to through our attorneys, yet you repeatedly refused to do so. I can't speak to you today about the situation of your case. I don't plan to. I just wanted to make sure I reiterated that information, and now I will be hanging up the phone again because once you are with our attorneys, we are not allowed to talk to you. That is policy of the company. So I will be hanging up the phone. I'm so sorry, and please stop libeling me on YouTube. Thank
Libel?
you.
Okay. All right. You all saw what happened. She failed to say that 6.5 years ago, my key card was pulled from the HOA. I'm going to sit here. I spent a lot of time today setting up this camera. I consider what she did very, very unprofessional. I've been sending in dues payments for the last 6.5 years while I have been kicked out of the HOA. She pulled my key card 6.5 years ago. And when she talks about false witness, that I'm slandering her, this was what goes on. But I want to let you know, everybody out in YouTube land, I have a lot of videos about what took place. But this, what she just did to me, is Jim Crow. This is Jim Crow. I went to a meeting 6.5 years ago. They resented me being present. I didn't know tribal knowledge was every time they have a meeting at halftime, everybody leaves so that they can go into executive session. I didn't know that. And when I went to the meeting, when they went to halftime, I stayed in the craft room when they came back. And they were all upset because they couldn't go into executive session. 2 days later, I had a policeman at my house accusing me of assaulting Charlie Waters. He had me on camera. This little policeman, this cadet, what I consider a cadet, was pointing his finger, telling me everything. When I went to get the video from the police department as to what took place and why this young man was out here giving me a lecture about Charlie Waters, there was no video of Charlie Waters. And 1 day or 2 days after the policeman was here giving me a lecture without going to Charlie Waters first and getting a statement from him and putting him on camera. The only people who are on camera about this case of assault he accused me of is me. Charlie Waters got a free pass. He didn't have to go on camera and make a very serious accusation. An accusation so serious that it got me kicked out of the HOA. 2 days later, I got a letter from Caroline telling me that I was kicked out of the HOA because I was combative. Now, I have a history with the HOA, and I want to let you know, as somebody that's out in YouTube land, once you get with an HOA, there are social pyramids. There are pecking orders. There is hierarchy. The thought, put out of your mind that everything that you have in the common area, or that's labeled common area in an HOA, will not be a common area. It will be segregated. I've been trying to get my point of view across to the HOA, and because they don't have an answer for me why Tract A is not being used to its highest and best use, they don't have an answer. More or less, you're a troublemaker. You're trying to replace us. That's all they see. That's why they turned everything over to the lawyer. You're trying to replace us. You're trying to make us recognize a plat map that has emergency ingress and egress, that has proper drainage. We don't have it over here. But you see how rude she was to me? I've probably given her in the last 6 years for 2 houses, for 4 years. For the first 4 years that I was kicked out of the HOA, I was paying dues on 2 houses. I tried to ask a question one day that from the HOA is, if I'm kicked out in my house, is the person that lives in my other house, is she kicked out too? And the lady couldn't give me an answer. All right. So for the first 4 years of 6.5 years, I paid dues on 2 houses. And my key card was canceled. I couldn't attend any functions at the HOA. All right, nothing. When they had their veterans party on Veterans Day, I can't get in. All right? Thank you for your service, right? That's the way they thank me for my service. What they do is what is the trouble here is Tract A was graft. Okay, you know what graft is? How about skim? How about shrinkage? How about piracy? How about looting? Whatever you want to call it. They stole it fair and square. That's all I get from the HOA is we stole it fair and square. It's legal. It isn't legal. It doesn't match the plat map. Everybody in Parcel 12 got their pockets picked by a Midwest freak who isn't going to be replaced. I'm a New Yorker by San Francisco, by the way of San Francisco. Now, I was taught in high school that in a contract, there's some basic elements in a contract. Whenever there's a contract, okay, you have to have a time, a place, the parties, and service and consideration. I've been given the HOA 6.5 years of consideration, and neither me or the person that was living in this house before me ever used the HOA. We didn't want anything to do, but I did enjoy going to the meetings. And I had a right to go to the meetings. But every time I went to the meetings, I was seen as the boogeyman, the interloper, the carpetbagger, the troublemaker, the shit stirrer. Why? Because I recognized the graft, that what happened when they took, graft is when they take public property and they transfer it to personal interest. That's exactly what happened in Tract A over 20 years ago. All right? They took it out of service. They turned it over to the people that lived on each side. They told everybody else, you're segregated. This is going to be segregated. Jim Crow segregation. We've taken Tract A out of service. Forever and ever, it's going to be these people. And when you see the video of Dan Veskerna saying, I want a sign here that says no golf carts, that's a sign that says, you're not going to replace us. And I have to look at that sign every day, and as far as I'm concerned, what's on that sign is that sign says, Seward LaShawn, you didn't replace us. We sent you to jail. We sent you to jail to keep you from giving it back. All right? I'm going to stop right here and put this on YouTube right now. It has to go on YouTube. I promised Caroline I would, and I am. And I'm going to send it to AAM, customer service. I might send it to Joe. Let Joe know. She had no right to hang up on me. I have a legitimate bill problem, and now I have to go and talk to her lawyer at her lawyer's fee. As soon as I talk to him, he's going to start charging either their bill or my bill for me to talk to them. Now right here, here's the hypocrisy. You see right here on the bottom, it says call up for any billing questions. I called up. You saw what happened? I'm going to make more. I'm going to dedicate myself in the next few months to making more and more and more videos as to what happened out here. All right? I can't sell my house. I can't sell my house because I'm a licensed airplane mechanic by the FAA. Here's my history. I was in the Marine Corps Air Wing from 68 to 72. Some of the biggest losses during the war in the Marine Corps were 68 to 72. Those 4 years were some of the biggest battles. I missed them. I joined the Air Wing. And when I joined the Air Wing, that put me into this stop and go, stop and go, stop and go training to become a radar technician on the F-4. My first year in the Marine Corps, I was either on mess duty, guard duty, or in school for the first year and a half. I didn't go anywhere. But that helped me later in life, in my 30s, my late 30s. That experience of working on airplanes got me an apprenticeship program with a commuter airline where I was able to get my A&P license. After I got my A&P license, I went to work for World Airways in Oakland, an international airways. After working at Oakland for about 8 months, I transferred to United Airlines across the bay in San Francisco. And I worked for United Airlines for 19 years. I'm trying to get across to you that every time I touched the airplane and left it, I either left a pass down, I left a written pass down, any work that I had accomplished, like lots of times in these work orders, they were itemized. If you did 3 items on a 30 item, and it took you all day to do 3 items on a 30 item card that takes 4 days to do, you signed for it. And you gave a pass down. And when the guy relieved you, the shift always staggered like 45 minutes or a half an hour. So the guy that would relieve you doing that card, you could give him a pass down. Not only did you have the writing on what you did, you had to write and sign for it. And after seeing a lot of people get burned, you learn with experience that you don't sign anything off without a reference. There's forensics. One thing about people who work on airplanes, everybody, you all, I call you civilians, you people that get on a plane and you don't understand the physics of what's going on. Outside, inside, what's going on with a plane, you haven't got a clue. you just take for granted that this thing's going to get me and I'm going to complain if they lose my luggage. I fix airplanes. I was an airplane neurosurgeon, okay? I could analyze, I worked on the wires, the nervous system of the airplane. And every time I worked on it, whenever I left the job and somebody relieved me, I gave them a thorough pass down. And when I did a pass down, a written pass down, I made sure I applied every legal means to cover my ass. Per this, tested per this, this, like that. So everything was signed for. That's why I'm a little excessive compulsive about track day. These clowns out here 20 years ago decided we're going to pull a little graft. We're going to take track day out of service and we're going to give it to a couple of our buddies up there. We're going to save a lot of money and time by just extending the pipe, and nobody's going to know. And while we're doing it, we're going to take Mr. Lasham's house and we're going to drop his house 2.5 inches. We're going to take the Marino's house, we're going to drop their house 1.5 inches, and then the foundation, and we're going to fill up track day. So track day will never drain. If that pipe underground in track day ever backs up, the first place it's going to leave parcel 12 is between lot 316 and lot 317, right between my house and my neighbor's house. That's what they did to me. That's why they thanked me for my service. They kept it a secret. They thought this will never be found out. Nobody will ever figure this out. Well, let me tell you the background that I have. I grew up in a Masonic household. My father became a Mason the year I was born. Also on the day that I was born, October 23rd, 1948, is Independence Day for the state of Israel. That's the date that Israel declared its independence. Okay? So, when I'm getting back to this Masonic family, from about 4 years old until 18, it was required to make the Masonic father and son banquet in my hometown. Okay? When he came a week before and said, go get a haircut, both of you, go get a haircut, you're going to the banquet with me this week, there was no argument. You didn't say, I don't want to go, or I don't want to get a haircut. You were like a little Marine, you did what you were told, and you went to these banquets. So I've been to what, maybe 10, 15 Masonic banquets, father and son banquets. Well, I'll tell you what, Masonry then, to me, doesn't reflect what I've seen traveling the world. The Masons that I saw in my hometown that were at that banquet were sober, God-fearing, or they appeared to be sober, God-fearing men, okay? They weren't out trying to show how rich they were. Most of them were very, very humble, okay? Their value in life was spirituality instead of material gain. And I know the Masons, the purpose of the compass in the Masons is to circumvent your ambitions. That's the symbol it represents to all Masons. As you travel forward as a Mason in life, use this compass to circumscribe your ambitions, all right, and your wants and material needs, okay? If you have to be dishonest or step outside of the rules of Masonry, which is called dishonesty, then you've overstepped your bounds. Well, that's what happened out here. That's what happened. I'm dealing with a cabala of cowboys that like to wear guns, people who have total resentment from anybody that comes in here from California. Christian, evangelical Christians out here, white people. Buckeye is one of the whitest places I've ever been on earth. Okay? And it's Jim Crow. I got thrown in jail for missing a court date that I never got served on. This was like Killers of the Flower Moon. I got a new name for Charlie Waters. I'm going to call him King from now on. King Waters. King Waters was behind all this flim-flam that took place over here. They filled in track day. They made it so it wouldn't drain. They made the area between my house and my neighbor's house the default ultimate outflow elevation. Look it up. Ultimate outflow elevation. And right now, because of the arrest and because I'm so bitter over this, that I've got a mug shot for missing a court date I never knew about. I spent 4 days in Joe Arpaio's jail being spanked by the town of Buckeye. It was Charlie Waters and Jackie Make spanking me. All right? And 2 weeks after I got out of jail, Charlie Waters went into the town hall meeting and gave All Faith Charity $32,000. 2 weeks after they arrested me on a warrant that I'd never been served on. I was told or led to believe that that warrant had been on me for 21 months. The altercation I had with the golfer that walked onto my property happened 21 months earlier. And on the day I got arrested, they said, we're arresting you for missing a court date. We can't arrest you for walking on track day, which you're doing. You're on track day. You're walking on it. We can't arrest you for that because you've got a track map that says you can walk here. So we had to go back into your file when we saw there was an altercation. Now the question I have, did I really have a 21-month warrant on my ass? Did I really have a warrant on me for 21 months that I didn't know about? Did the town of Buckeye, did the court, did they issue a warrant for me 21 months earlier and let me drive around Buckeye, have people visit from back east, have children in the car, maybe give them a ride, knowing unknowing for that 21 months, I had no clue that there was a warrant on me. That's the type of people and when I got into the jail after being arrested, I was talking to all these guys in holding tanks, and they were saying that they came after him. As soon as they issued the warrant, they came after him and got him. I had a warrant on me for 21 months that I didn't know about. And I never got served. But I got arrested and went to jail for 4 days when I walked on track day. I was being provocative. Charlie Waters, the neighbors that live on each side of track day, the neighborhood here, convinced the police department that I was provoking my neighbors. I was provoking my neighbors. Anybody get that? They lowered the elevation of my house. They put a berm across my yard so my yard wouldn't drain. They took away my cart path. I have to drive out to the 7th fairway. I have to drive almost a half a mile east to go to a mile west to the clubhouse. But this is what happened. And like I said, I'm going to put it on YouTube right now. But this is what graft is. Go see the movie Killers of the Flower Moon. It's similar. It's a bunch of local townies who got, I'm dealing with a deep state. I'm dealing with the Buckeye deep state. When I got here from San Francisco, and I bought 3 houses, 3 of the best lots overlooking the lake, I was very disliked. You have to understand, I've been on the West Coast. I sold real estate about 40 years ago in Seattle for a year. I took a 90-hour real estate course. I had listings sell and I sold houses in that year. Okay? So I have a little bit of experience under my belt, and I understand what goodwill, what civil responsibility is. As far as I'm concerned, Caroline Clinton and the HOA behind her are being steered by some lawyer whose expertise is collections. All right? And they've been weaponized to come after me. I will say in other presentations, I've run for the board twice. And right after I got that bill for $4,700 in December last year, about a week later, I got a postcard just like this inviting me to volunteer to run for the board. I did that 2 years ago. I ran for the board 2 years ago. They didn't like what I had in my statement. My statement was saying that Tract A is out of compliance. Okay? And if I get on the board, the first thing we're going to do is make it emergency ingress and egress for parcel 12. Nobody seems to get that. You're all being willfully ignorant. You're listening to Charlie Waters tell you, oh, that's all right. It's okay. There's nothing wrong over there. Well, there is something wrong. All right? And anybody that wants to buy my house, I'll sell it to you. And I got to tell you, this house, the sewer pipes are out of compliance by 2.5 inches of head pressure. All right? They did this 20 years ago. They thought they weren't going to get caught. Oh, and back to growing up as a Mason. Back to growing up as a Mason. My father was not only a free and accepted Mason, he was an operative Mason. He understood the language of Masonry. He actually knew how to operate a trowel and cement and geometry. He was a master of geometry. He taught me things when I was a little kid. He hung a string up from a ceiling with a weight on it. He said to me, he says, you see what you're looking at? That's a straight line going to heaven. Nothing will be more upright and straight and square to heaven than that line. You see that? And the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. That the triangle is the strongest geometric figure. I had this preached to me all my life. I had a father that was old enough to be my grandfather. We skipped a generation. He was very knowledgeable, filled with wisdom. Like I said, he was in the Masonic Lodge. Okay? I used to have great respect for Masons. Because I knew what I grew up with. The Masons I grew up with were God-fearing, modest, humble. They weren't out trying to all drive Cadillacs. And if they had money, it was in the stock market. All right? They weren't parading it around. They had it in the stock market. Okay? Those type of Masons. When I saw that my neighbors, the Veskernas, had Shriner Mason stickers on that car, I figured it all out. The Masons are the Protestant mafia. I grew up in it, right? I know. You can pull whatever you want. Everything is secret. I had an uncle that got out of the Masons. The day I buried my father, I went and saw an uncle who was like 95 years old that my father hated because he helped him get into Masons, and then the guy quit. Well, the guy told me the story. why he quit the Masons. They tried to make him, as soon as he got into Masons in his little town, they tried to get him to swear false witness about some guy that had gotten a young girl pregnant from the other side of the tracks. He was a married Mason, big wig Mason. He was walking his dog outside the park and he got caught. And they wanted my freshly minted uncle, when he was in his 50s, to go into court and swear that he saw some young guy with this young girl that could have got the old guy off the hook. And he said, when I witnessed that, and they asked me to do that, he said, I quit the Masons right there. And since my father had helped him and vouched for him and did everything he could to help him get into Masons, and also teaching him the ritual to get him through the degrees, my father was very disappointed. Disappointed to the point where my mother never talked to her brother for 35 years. Okay? She couldn't go near him because my father hated him. Because he left the Masons. So I know what the Masons are all about. You're all a bunch of friggin' crooks. That's why you have to be a secret society. And as soon as I saw what happened here, I understand graft. I understand flim-flam. I understand razzle-dazzle. I understand reverse. I understand we stole it fair and square. You're not gonna replace us. That's what I'm dealing with. All right? Some Midwest Trump-headed, you're not replacing us. As far as I'm concerned, the HOA, the board and everybody in it, and Caroline, look at me like I'm an immigrant that's poisoning. I'm poisoning the blood of the HOA. I'm the boogeyman. That's why she hung up on me. She hasn't got an answer for me. Right here, on this bill right here. Now, I'm not going to call her lawyer. It doesn't say here, call your lawyer. It says, call me. And she will not go over the bill because they're not taking they're not giving me credit. I'll make more YouTubes about it. I'll stop right now. You're probably sick of hearing me, but I want to let you know, as a single person, and if you're from California, or if you have any liberal leanings at all, you are considered the enemy. When you buy into an HOA, you're buying into communism. Because there's common language all through it. If you pay your dues, if you do what you're supposed to and pay your dues, then you have ownership of all the common areas in common with all the other memberships. You're selling communism. But like communism doesn't work in Russia, communism doesn't work here because you have people in the corner that Tract A, the Veskernas, the Marinos, and whoever succeeded them or came after them that believe that we shouldn't have to share this. Even though it says on the plat map, we're supposed to share this with the rest of us, we have no intention of sharing this with anybody. All right? You're not going to replace us. You're a Californian. You're single. You've never been married. You never had kids. You didn't join any of our churches. You didn't join our lodge. You didn't give a secret handshake. You didn't give a secret password. As far as we're concerned, you're poison for this community. All right? You're poison. And you're trying to replace us. You're right. You're right. But I've got you where you hung up on me. It shows how unprofessional you are. I've been getting this response from her now for over a year. I call up and all she does is hang up on me. And like I said, it's hypocritical of what they send out. That's why I told her, don't send me any more stuff. let me give you an example of what they sent to me. After she kicked me out and pulled my key card so I couldn't get in, I didn't tell her to take me off the mailing list. I was still taking the mail because, you know, there was information, and so they sent out one of the flyers. I got to end this because I've been talking now for 45 minutes. But they sent out a thing in the email of a video of the veterans meeting at the HOA. This was about a year after I got kicked out. They kicked me out like in January. In November, on Veterans Day that year, she sends out a video to everybody, and I open it, and I got Craig Eustace swearing allegiance, pledge allegiance to the flag. All right? And justice for all. And they swept the crowd, and it was all Trump heads. Everybody in there was a Midwestern Trumper. Right? You're not going to replace us types. Okay? I'm not a fit here. I'm not a fit because I question their authority. Let me tell you one thing I got from 4 years in the Marine Corps, from 68 to 72, is question authority. I had the biggest group of clowns for authority in the Marine Corps. You had some that were all Joe Marine, starched from head to toe, spit polish, the regulation, yada, yada, yada. And then you had the Slavs, all right? And then you had the white supremacists, the Klan. I missed getting sergeant my last year when they sent me to Beaufort, South Carolina, because they had already picked their sergeant that year. A billet came up for a new sergeant in the shop. I was naive enough to go through getting my hair cut and cleaning my uniform and going in for an interview with my uniform and everything. And it was already settled. We've got our guy. We've already decided. We don't care what abilities you have. You're not making sergeant here. I've been through it. I was down south in Beaufort, and guess who they put as a sergeant? A good old Southern boy. Good old Southern boy. A Yahoo. All right? We don't like you people from New York. All right? You're too much in our face. All right? You're moving a little too fast for us. All right? That's why I got out of the Marine Corps. They had every reason to give me sergeant first. I was way ahead of this guy as far as knowing the radar and the radar system. I was overseas. I'd had overseas duty. I was more or less on the front line over there, doing hot pad duty off Japan. Okay, so I brought a lot of skills to this place, and then within the last 3 months I had in the Marine Corps, like I said, they had a sergeant thing come up, and we went through it, and they gave it to their boy. A lot of people above me were disappointed. There's a lot of people above me that understood you should have got it. Well, a couple months later, they finally gave it to me. But once I learned, and I'm in the same thing here. This might as well be Dixieland. I'm in Buckeye, the closest thing to Dixieland in the whole state of Arizona. If you want to see Mississippi, if you want to see Alabama, get on I-10 and get off at Watson Road. You'll be in the middle of Dixieland. All right? Jim Crow South. Okay? Jim Crow Police Department, Jim Crow everything. I got a board of people who are all wearing red hats. They're authority figures. The people that are slave chasers that go around every week looking at stuff, they're looking at a fine-tooth comb. And I'll tell you, why I've been getting so many letters is I stuck my head up. I questioned them. And when that letter came to them about 10 years ago, condemning Track A, I've never had a chance. I've never had a chance. But anyway, for all you YouTube listeners, I hope you're still with me. Beware. If you're young, if you're a single person, and you're kind of got liberal leanings, live and let live, and you question injustice, or you question what I call oxymoron situation, if you question things that contradict themselves, like Tract H in Parcel 13, and then Tract A in Parcel 12, those have the same legal description. They're on the same deed. Everything is samey, except that Tract A got tampered with. It's been tampered with. Stolen fair and square. Thank you for listening.